All right, we are live on Facebook for another Thursday's Top Tips in Real Estate. We go live every Thursday with local realtors and lenders along the Treasure Coast, and we talk about different topics in regards to buyers and just what you might need to know in regards to the real estate industry, because there is so much information out there. So we go live each week with a new topic, and today's topic is True Tales of Real Estate, which is quite a topic. We have a lot of different fires that we put out on a daily basis, we'd say, and realtors do a lot of that. Mortgage lenders do, title on our side we do as well, and there's so many different aspects, there's so many different moving parts in real estate, and you really have to keep them all in a line, all in track, and make sure that everything is being done at the proper time. So it's all about that communication and getting, if there's an issue that comes up, making sure that those issues are being solved in a timely and proper manner. So I think we're going to have some really great stories today. We're going to share with you some stories that you may not have known of, the things that we do on the back end that may never come to light, or maybe does come to light, but you don't understand how much goes into what we actually do to fix those problems. So we're going to start off with Alannah, and she is going, we have our first segment, which is going to be talking about these stories, and we'll go into the second segment, which is our top tip in real estate for the week, and then announcements. So make sure you guys stay tuned. There's always great information throughout it all, and you guys can always reach out to these amazing professionals. Their information is in the description of this video. So Alannah, go ahead and start us off. What is your true tale of real estate today?
Whew. All right. Well, this is Alannah Ghazel with EXP. Hi, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I'm excited about this segment, and especially the conversation point of this segment, because there's so much to talk about. That agents put out fires before people even know there are fires. It's always my goal to identify an issue, so that we can either, prepare to overcome the obstacle, or we can skirt the obstacle entirely by doing our due diligence. I like to share the stories that, you can learn from. And so one of the things that I like to do, particularly when I'm preparing to list a property, is do a cursory inspection of the home, do a pre-inspection, or even if it's just a pre-inspection with the actual, the agent and the homeowner themselves, walking through and taking a look at things that might be red flags to us as a buyer. We don't necessarily have to pay for that to be a professional service. Some of my clients in the past have liked having a professional pre-inspection so that they're holding paperwork in their hand, which is always great. And others don't want to spend the upfront cost. So doing that look up front, a couple of the things that we've discovered and been able to handle before it ever even goes on the market and prevent issues, coming up with negotiation, where, by the way, you could end up losing more or have more difficulty if that's got more people at the table deciding how things are going to get fixed. So being able to identify, in this one particular case, we noticed that there was a whole area of drywall that was compromised behind the water heater area, and another that was compromised around the air conditioning handler area up on the top, where the seams are really important. I know personally, as a buyer, I would be interested in, making sure I was getting the home in the best possible condition off the bat. So my recommendation to those sellers in that case was to allow me to get a handyman that I trust out there to go and evaluate the situation, come up with a budget to fix it. And if it was an acceptable budget, take care of it right then and there, so that we can proceed forward with their transaction as quickly as possible. And that's exactly how the scenario ended up shaping out. I'm very pleased to have just a great group of vendors that I cooperate with to get the job done. And it turned out to be great. It helped, and that inspection turned out to be a wonderful thing, because it came up with so little, because we took the time to go around the house and really fix the little things that would have possibly become big things had they not been handled.
Awesome. That's a great example. Thank you, Alannah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I see we've got Sara on here. I don't know if she's there or not, but Codi, if you want to go next, what is your true tale in real estate?
Mine is this is Codi, first of all, Bourgeois Real Estate Group. Mine is actually a deal I'm currently working on right now. We're down to the wire, supposed to close on Monday. this is a as is contract with 5 addendums, and I have to write another one today. So this was an issue with, first it was with the home. There was a few items in the house that needed to be fixed. We went back and forth with the seller to get it done. I was able to negotiate that. The sellers were pretty open to it, so it kind of helped. Then there was an issue with the HOA. The information that we received in the beginning from the sellers was old information. This is information that we used to negotiate the contract with, and come to find out, their fees increased. So I had to go back and negotiate to make sure that everybody was in agreement. The seller continued to pay his portion, and then the buyer agreed to pay the difference. So we were able to get through that. Then there was an issue with, her lending. I guess if you get COVID pay, that can affect your loan, your debt to income ratio or something. So we were able to put that fire out by adding a cosigner. So now, currently, we are waiting for a clear to close from the lender. But they have such a high volume of business, apparently. Things are taking a little longer than we would like. So, I had to keep pressing and pressing and pressing to get a conditional approval so I can meet the deadline. So I am still currently waiting on a clear to close so that we can close this property on Monday. Now that's, it's unclear, I guess, on the contract as to which portion of the capital contribution on the HOA was paid by who. So, we have to straighten that out with another addendum. So, a lot of issues can pop up. You just want to make sure that you guys have a realtor that is willing to put the work in, willing to, go to bat for you and put out all these fires so that, things can continue to go smoothly. This one's been a doozy, but, it's full steam ahead. So, if you're looking for a realtor who will fight the good fight for you, here I am.
Hey, I love that shameless plug.
Right? That's great, Cody. No, and it's honestly true. There's so many issues that can pop up, and there's so many things that could potentially kill a deal if it's not handled in the proper way, if a solution doesn't come to fruition in the right time. So yeah. So we're going to go, I don't see that Sarah's there yet. So we're going to go to the lending side, because I'm sure that there are a lot of things that go wrong when it comes to lending and there's a lot of aspects to that process. So Eric Rosberg is with us today, and go ahead, Eric, go to spotlight your video now. Tell us about your true tale.
Welcome. My name is Eric Rosberg. I'm with Cross Country Mortgage. I love what Alannah said. Especially in lending, we're trying to get ahead of any problem. We're gonna run in. I don't call them fires. I call them speed bumps. You slow down, you get over it, and you get to the next one, and we get to the finish line. When I was thinking about what the craziest fire, because I've had people quit jobs, buy a car, do some things that they shouldn't do that kind of held up lending. This is a good one. This is about 1.5 years ago. I was doing a bank statement loan. With the bank statement loan, I needed, this gentleman owned 2 businesses. One of his businesses, his ex-wife was still on the bank statements. And there was a lot of money in those accounts, like hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when his current wife found out, it didn't go over well. So I had to take off the lending hat and I put on the counseling hat. I turned into I had to counsel them for about a week. The way we got around it, I helped him. They had gotten divorced about 10 years prior. It was in New York City. because of how long the state keeps records, we had to go back to the original attorney, which he had forgotten who the original attorney was. Finally figured that out. The attorney had to drive down to the town hall, have stuff redone. Meanwhile, he's sleeping on the couch. The husband and wife are arguing. At the end of the day, we closed on time. Everything was good, but it was very interesting being a marriage counselor for about a week and a half. So that's my story.
I like that. Yeah, the divorces can definitely get very sticky when it comes to real estate, because sometimes they're very amicable in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they're not because of whatever might come up. And definitely what you said about the hats, I'm sure all of the realtors can agree that we all wear very different hats, and making sure that everybody understands exactly where the process is going and everybody is in agreement. So I'm going to tell you guys a little true tale when it comes to title insurance. So this is an example I like to use a lot because it really puts title insurance into perspective for a lot of people and gives you the true value of what it can do for you. So whenever you purchase a property, you get title insurance on it. So title insurance is what protects you from anything that's happened in the past. And a lot of people don't know that. People know what a mortgage lender is and a realtor is, but when it comes to title insurance, they're like, I don't know what that is. Closing, okay, you're going to sign my papers, whatever. So when it comes to that, since it's the one thing that protects you from anything that's happened in the past, that protects you from any issues that have occurred. So, and it also prevents any issues, because when we go into doing those title searches, we make sure to look up and make sure everything is free and clear from the past. Nothing is going to perpetuate and affect the new buyer that's coming into that home. So this is a story about an invalid deed. So this was a true story. Someone had called and they had, this is a true story. Someone had called and they were trying to sell their home. Now we do get a couple of FSBOs that call for sale by owners. And, you know, this gentleman, I think he knew that there was an issue, but he didn't know exactly what it was. So he had called us to do a title search and everything like that. Michelle, my owner, boss did it. So she did a search, and what we found was that the deed, so 20 years ago, the deed was written, his mother had written the deed to him. So they signed with 2 witnesses, but they didn't get it notarized. The issue with that is that becomes an invalid deed automatically because it wasn't notarized. Now, 20 years, moving forward 20 years, he thinks he owns the property. He doesn't own the property. It technically reverts back to his mother. So now he's trying to sell this property. It reverts back to his mother. His mother has passed away. So since his mother has passed away, she has 3 children. It reverts then to those 3 children. One of his brothers had passed away, reverts to his children. So now there's 6 different points of contact that technically own this property. And if all 6 of those people do not agree to sign over the property to him, and I think one of the children was in jail too. So it was like, you know, it would have been a hassle to get every single person to agree and then get all of their signatures to sign it over to him. And he wasn't in good standing with all of them, so it wasn't really the best of terms. And he would have had, because they didn't get title insurance, because they just signed over the deed, and that was that. There was no protection for it. It was something he would have had to come out of pocket for. He would have had to pay for all of the costs to get those signatures, to make sure that the deed was transferred into his name. He would have to pay all of that. Had he gotten title insurance, if for some reason that was a slip up and that did happen, it would have covered him, but it wouldn't have happened to begin with, because that's something that we know we have to do. We have to notarize those documents and make sure that the deed is valid. So because someone took a quick way to try and get the deed and just sign it over, it created this big problem. He wasn't able to sell his property because he didn't want to go through that whole process. But had he had gotten title insurance, it would have been solved to begin with in that process. So it's one of my biggest examples that I can give about title insurance and how important it is when it comes to making sure that everything is proper, and there's no issues that are going to come along the way. And if there are, you're protected with that title insurance. So that is my story. Sara, are you there?
That was a story, though. There's a lot to learn in there.
Yeah, there is. And we're going to go into a little discussion. I don't know if Sara's having technical difficulties or what, but we're going to go into a little discussion, like if anybody has any other stories that they want to bring up. Have you guys ever heard of that type of situation with title insurance before when it comes to that?
I've heard of it, but that story, it really covers a lot of bases of things that title really protects you from when you engage them in the process. So it just helps validate that so much.
Absolutely. Yeah. And sometimes it's just about putting it into perspective for some people because they don't understand where it can, help them. They're just like, why am I paying this money? I don't know. How is it helping me? It's really, I think of it as like the one insurance that you pay once. It's not like regular insurance where you're paying it per year or per month or whatever it might be. It's the one insurance, you pay it once and it protects you for the entirety that you own the property. So if you own that property for 30 years, it's protecting you. So I think it's a good deal. Hey, Sara, I see you're back. That's okay. You're muted though. Oh.
Hey.
There you are.
Hi, I'm back. Sorry I had to step away. Are we talking about title insurance, title policy?
I was telling a little true tale about title insurance and an invalid deed situation that we had. But our topic today is, of course, the true tales of real estate. So if you want to come in and talk about what a situation that you had and a solution that you came to, I'm sure you've got plenty, Sara. So
well, I have plenty, but I haven't. And I thought about which one I would tell today. I think we could put a book together, all of us, if you got our stories together. And I do think there should be a show that is like Real Housewives of New York City or whatever, the real Realtors of Martin County, because the stuff that goes on a daily basis is just, you can't make it up. It's unbelievable. But here's my funny story. We had a home inspection at New Wave Realty. We always accompany the home inspections, the appraisals, every showing, everything. We're there from, that's, when you're a boutique firm, you always offer the extra services to stand out from some of the larger companies. So we're always involved in everything that we do. And a lot of us turn into control freaks too, because we feel like we need to be there to help the process along. So here's my funny story. I had a buyer who's purchasing a home in Monarch, and he's from the UK, but he was living here now, and he wanted to buy this beautiful home. So we worked with him, and he put it under contract. It's great. So we get to the home inspection, and he's following the inspector around, and we kept telling him, just give him a chance to do his inspection, and we'll get a summary at the end. He's like, he wanted to go check out the attic. He had this curiosity about the attic, and we said, you really can't go climbing around in the attic. The seller had asked that nobody go up there except the home inspector and stuff like that. And I said, it's just not a good idea. Well, I got a call. My assistant was with me, and I got a call, and I had to run and do something and then come back. And I did leave for a short time, and I came back, and while I was gone, the buyer didn't listen to me. And then when I left, I found out he asked my assistant if he could go in the attic to look around. And she said, no, it's not a good idea. They really don't want you in the attic. So then he went to the home inspector and said, do you mind if I look around in the attic with you? And the home inspector said, I'll take photographs, but you really can't come up in the attic. It's just a liability issue. It's not a good idea. And when no one was looking, he climbed up into the attic after the home inspector and started walking around like it was an attic in New England where it's a true third floor, and he fell right through the ceiling of the floor of the attic into the garage, took the garage door off its tracks, put a huge hole in the ceiling of the garage. Lucky he didn't get killed, okay? Got up, dusted himself off, and started walking around again. We call him Mr. Magoo. To this day, we call him Mr. Magoo. he, not only did that happen, and we had to explain what happened, and they couldn't close up the house because the garage was knocked off the tracks. Where the hole was is where the garage. So we had to quickly, and I have a speed dial handyman. I have a speed dial everyone. We quickly got on the phone and we got people over and we got it worked out. We got it closed up. And then we got a contractor back over there to smooth out the ceiling and everything. His financing fell through and he didn't end up buying the house. So it turned into this big mess, and I felt like I had to hide from the listing agent for like years because I was so embarrassed about everything that happened. But that's my crazy tale. You know, you really have to watch what goes on at home inspections. You really have to be careful. You have to give good guidance to your buyer about what's appropriate at a home inspection and really kind of keep an eye on them. And it's also good to have people on speed dial when someone falls through the ceiling and you need to fix it really quick before anybody finds out. So, that's my story.
Oh my gosh. Wow. What a story.
Right? I know.
That is wild.
That I feel like that's definitely something that you like see in a movie.
Isn't that a good one? Yeah.
Well, like, despite your best advice, how many different ways and times can you get the same information, you know?
3 people told him not to do it. And when I left, and then of course I'm like, I shouldn't have left. I knew I shouldn't have left, you know, and you beat yourself up over it, but it happens. So just the takeaway is it can happen. You can fall through the ceiling in the way our homes are constructed. You can fall through the ceiling. So don't let buyers up there in that attic while you're showing the property.
That's crazy.
Just saying.
I have a feeling that one of the top tips this week is going to be trust your professional.
Yes, that's good. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's crazy.
I hope he's not out there listening to this. Sorry.
I hope he is out there listening, just face palming himself.
Right.
Yeah, right. It's crazy. I mean, and at the end of the day, it's like you have to understand. It's a different type of home structure here, and you have to be aware of. You just have to listen to your professional. If they advise against something, you know, not trying to do it another way.
You have to listen to your professionals. The markets are different everywhere. I certainly meet people on a daily basis that have a lot more experience. They've bought and sold many homes on their own behalf, and they come with a lot of experience, and I'm very respectful of that. But you have to listen, you know, and things are a little different here. Even our contracts and the way we do things are a little different here. So yes, you have to trust your realtor to guide you in a good direction.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have any stories that came up if they want to share another one, since we have less people on today than usual?
I mean, I have no shortage of little bits that, yeah. Let's go around the horn again. Let's do it.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Okay, awesome. So Alannah, Ghazel, EXP again. Hi. So I learned a great lesson. I at one point, again, I happen to be in a listing situation. I happen to be representing the listing, and so my clients were first-time sellers. It was the first property they had ever owned. So I love guiding them through that process. And there was, you know, they of course, you know, ask what are the appropriate things to do when we're leaving, what's appropriate to take, what's not appropriate to take. And I remember us having a very specific discussion about a microwave, which was a plug-in appliance, which was sitting on a countertop. And that, as all of us in the industry know, is one of those items that it does not convey unless, you know, the seller chooses to leave it behind. That's not considered a fixture. So we had a very specific dialogue about a microwave in the kitchen, and my sellers took it upon themselves. They had just apparently dropped a pretty penny on a beautiful new like stovetop / oven set, which by the way matched everything else in the kitchen, which was a beautiful kitchen. So of course, you know, we've got our photos showing it. We've got it under contract. We're rolling through. Everything's fantastic. Closing day, I go and show up for the final walkthrough with my sellers prepared to leave, and they were still moving a few items out. So, they asked us to please excuse the state of things, and so the purchasers had left for maybe 30 minutes to an hour, so that my sellers could continue to move out their items and be complete, so we could all go to signing. And so myself and the the sellers left, and my sellers signed. They got on the road. We helped secure them a new home. They were well on their way. Got them set up with a great referral agent, and so they were already on the road. And my buyer's agent that I was working with closely, who I respect and love, had actually written me back and said they swapped out the appliances. So they had actually taken our conversation, interpret it how you will. They took our conversation to apply to any and all appliances in the kitchen. And so they actually gutted the kitchen of the gorgeous appliances and replaced it with like the old crusty, like whitish, yellowish, just a whole different caliber of unit than what we sold. And so the agent and I ended up in a situation where we need to save this deal, and we need to also make amends with a buyer who was wronged and a seller
Did
who
you buy appliances for them? Did you have to?
I did. I will not leave another agent hanging. I will not leave a buyer experience soured by any sort of lack of integrity. I don't tolerate in my business. So I absolutely made it right with them, and we came to an agreement, got the new owner all hooked up so that everybody walked away from the deal feeling good. And sometimes there's not a conversation that you can have that actually gets the right results out of people. Not everybody is always out to do the right thing, whether intentionally or not. One of our many hats is damage control, and the way we approach a problem and resolve it really helps maintain the relationships that make future transactions a positive thing. So I was really proud of that one.
That's a great story, Alannah. I mean, sad that
I
happened, but wow. Like,
yeah, it was a small price to pay to save a relationship within the field, but it was quite an eye-opener for me about the level of specificity and the fact that we want to trust everybody to do the right thing, but as professionals we are responsible ultimately for someone else's actions or inactions. And so that's a place with due diligence where I've like amended my strategy to make sure that never happens again.
Story, Alannah. All right. Does anybody else have any other stories that they'd like to share? Second story, Sara, go ahead.
Yeah, one of my last deals. It was hanging on a thread by like about $2 or $3 grand, because it was kind of the same situation where it was supposed to be a credit towards appliances, and we ended up doing just a reduction in sales price. But I was able to get everybody on board and happy by the buyer had an issue with the front door, and I was able to sort that out for him. So that made him feel good, and got the deal processed. So there's always a solution.
Absolutely, yes, there is. It's about finding it.
Right.
Before we go back to you, Sara, Eric, go ahead. You're muted still. You were. You're muted. Oh, yeah. Good. Yeah.
Unmute. That better?
Yep.
All right. So Sara, you weren't here at the beginning. So I'm Eric with Cross Country Mortgage. So I've seen everything on the lending side. The people buying a new car, changing jobs. From a realtor side, I saw a contract fall apart because the door opened in and not out.
Wow.
And the realtor even offered to have it changed.
They want it out. They just want it out. You have to know when that happens, they were going to cancel no matter what. You got to
I agree, but
yeah.
when I heard that excuse, I was like, you got to come up with something better. So I have all the admiration. There's a lot of people that do what I do, and they're like, realtors have it easy. Realtors have it easy. Just got to show a house. And none of what we do on my end or your end is easy. So it's great stories from you guys.
Sara, you looked eager with another one. I wonder where they're going to be falling from next.
Oh my goodness, we have to get together for the glass of wine to go over these stories. I have another one that that was so unusual. I have to share it with you. I was taking a buyer around. We were looking at property, and this was in Stewart West was the community, and we entered the home through the front door. And there was evidence all over the front porch of a party. There was cigarettes in in a little makeshift ashtray, beer cans. It was so bizarre. We get inside and the electricity's out. I can't turn any of the lights on, and there's candles in every room. So someone's living there like that. There's candles in every room. We open the refrigerator because now we're curious. We open the refrigerator and there's like food in there, but the power's out. So as we're walking around the house, we're realizing someone must be living there because there was a cooler and there's candles in all the rooms, no electricity, and evidence of a party that was going on there. And we're like, maybe kids got into this house because it's empty. We're trying to figure out the mystery, right? And it was a nice house. It was a really nice house. Next thing you know, the garage door to the house, where you access the house from the garage, opens up and some woman comes flying in. She goes, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know you were showing the house today. I'm going through a terrible divorce. My husband's mad at me, so we turned the electricity off. But I'm so sorry. I would have straightened up if I knew you were coming. And don't let me get in your way. And like came into the house like she was the owner. And we're like, what's going on? So we left. And I texted the agent and I said, this is what happened. I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but there's a squatter living in the listing that you have. And apparently they've been there for some time. There's no electricity on the house. There's food in the refrigerator. I don't even know if you know there's no electricity. There's candles in every room, which is a huge fire hazard. And I'm not sure the woman that came in is the true owner or the story she's telling. And I suspect that whenever this house gets shown, if she's locked out, she uses it as an opportunity to get back in. Because she followed, it was like she was waiting for someone to come and open up the house. And she quickly followed us in to get in. So here's the takeaway from this story. Guys, we accompany all our showings. We check on our listings. If you're going to list your home with a real estate professional, I don't know if, it's because you're trying to save a few bucks or something. I don't know if you're going to go with a listing agent from completely out of the area like this one was, who probably wasn't really interested in driving an hour or half an hour every time they had to show the property. So maybe she had or he had some sort of arrangement with the selling agent to hang a lockbox on the front door. And that's fine if that's what you're going to do. But you need to check on your listing from time to time. See if there's a squatter living there. See if the electricity's been turned off. And if people are going in to show it, just check on it and see what's going on there. And also I would say to sellers, be careful about who you list your property with. Not all realtors are equal. And, you have to really take the time to get to know who you're doing business with. And it isn't always about the money or saving a percentage point on a commission. You really get what you pay for. That person who was squatting in that house could have burnt that house down, and I don't know if that person was still carrying insurance, but it was the strangest thing we ever saw. There was literally someone living in that house in darkness with candles in a cooler. And nobody knew. The listing agent didn't know. The seller didn't know. And she was telling this tale about how terrible the owner is and how he turned the electricity off on her. It was so really strange. So just be careful about, be careful that, be sure to hire a high quality agent, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And if you're lucky enough to have someone put their precious home in your hands as their listing agent. Because let's face it, this is probably your biggest commodity, your most expensive investment and thing that you own. And if you're going to put it in someone else's hands if your seller is going to entrust you with that awesome responsibility, then you should at least be able to go check on that property, make sure everything's the way it should be. All the doors and windows are locked after a showing. If you can't accompany a showing, you do need to go back at some point and make sure all the lights are turned off, because guess what? They always leave one on. I've had so many sliders left unlocked by, people. You think you're locking up, but you're in a hurry and you're scrambling with a buyer and you're going to the next house and something gets left undone, whether it's a light or a slider. So agents, be careful with your listings. Make sure you check on them. And sellers, be careful who you hire. That's my other
Your
story.
dog agrees. That was a great story.
You hear Stella? She's like, amen, Mom. You tell him.
Yeah, that's true. That's crazy. All right, I'll give my last title story. It's not as thrilling as the other one, but just as caution to be had. So I had said that, FSBOs for sale by owners have, call us periodically and want to do a deal, and, we'll never turn them away. We do recommend that they get a realtor, and we can't force them, so they do have to close somewhere at the end of the day. So this was the buyer in this case who had called, and he was curious to use us. I think he just found us online, and he had already found a property in Stewart somewhere. It wasn't too much. It was probably 175,000, around there, under 200,000. And it was a condo or like a townhouse type of situation. So he calls us and he's looking for a quote on title because they were talking and everything, and she wanted to, didn't want realtors involved to save money, whatever it might be. They came to an agreement on a price, and he said that he wanted to do it at a title company. And she's like, well, I don't really want to do that. Like, I researched the title, like it's all free and clear. I promise, like I promise you, like, people will promise you whatever they want to get the house, right? She's like, yeah, we could just quick claim deed it over to you. It's all good. So he's like, no, I really do want to get a quote from, a title company. So I sent him over the quote and everything, and he was willing to pay half of the title costs and everything. Like, he was willing to negotiate and talk about it. And I think it was only, it was less than $1,000 on each side or something like that. It wasn't even a lot of money. He brought it to her and said, hey, this is the title company that I've found, and these are the prices. Like, can we go forward with this deal? And she was just like, no, we can do this on our own, type of thing. And luckily he was a smart buyer, and he was like, no, I don't want to go into something that's a big purchase to make. And he was planning on paying cash, but he didn't want to go into that situation without having a professional do it. And I said, kudos to you for being aware of that, taking the proper steps to making sure that you are prepared and going through the situation in the which way it should be, because the lady was just trying to nickel and dime and save all of that money. And if he was a blind buyer and he was just like, oh yeah, sure, it could have been another one of those situations, as I talked about earlier with the invalid deed. There's so many things that could go wrong in that in that situation. So he was smart, and he walked away, and he was like, I'll come back to you guys with another property that I'm going to find. I think he was coming from up north, and that was just a few weeks ago. So it's just crazy that situation, the lady was pushing so hard to go without a title company, without, any professional involved, just like, here, I don't know you, you don't know me, but here, take my word that the house is good and clear and that you're going to be all right. The people out here are crazy sometimes.
It just can't fly, and that's why you set yourself up with a team.
Exactly.
Another story you reminded me of, and it happened in my own purchase last July. I purchased a townhome, and perfect example of that expression, what is it, penny wise and dollar foolish. We went to purchase the townhome, and there had been previous owners who were cash buyers and never pulled a survey on it. So we were going to be the first, second, third owner of the townhome. And when you're not getting a mortgage, you don't have to pay for a survey. You don't have to pay for title. When you're borrowing money, is that correct, Eric? When you're borrowing money, you're required to get a survey on the property and have title insurance and all of that, right? So as a realtor, I know you always get a survey on a property because someone could have put a fence up and it's encroaching, and you don't want to take on someone else's defect to title. So in my business, I see people all the time forgo a survey because they don't want to spend $400 or $500 if they're cash buyers. They figure the house is sold a couple times, somebody else got the survey, I'm sure it's fine, right? Wrong. So on my property, they pulled the survey. The land under my swimming pool was never deeded to the property. So technically the property that we were buying, my swimming pool and whole backyard, it was owned by the HOA. So the original developer sold it that way. The first buyer never did a survey on it. The second buyer, and shame on the realtor that second buyer had, who never checked and never recommended that you have a survey done. And here are the reasons why. So the second buyer was cash, never looked into it. So when it came to us, it was in the final hours of our deal that they had to go back all the way to the original developers, who they found one gentleman left from that original group that was like 80 years old, had to find him, convince him to quit claim deed it up to the first owner, had to find them, convince them to quit claim deed it up to the second owner, and then at closing, she assigned it over to us so that the land under our swimming pool belonged to our home. So imagine that. That's my lesson learned for people who are trying to, you're spending $5, $6, $7, $1 million. You don't want to spend $500 on a survey. I'm just saying things go wrong, and they do all the time. And you don't want to take on someone else's problem by trying to save a little bit of money. So always get that stuff done. Title, surveys, it's important.
Absolutely.
Eric, stuff comes up all the time.
Go ahead, Eric. You were saying something?
$350.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. And we have to explain to people as well, because those line items, when we get a deal, we're ordering the survey and we're ordering the lien search and the title search, and people are like, well, I feel like they feel like they're getting overcharged because they don't understand the differences of the of the survey and the different searches and what they do. So, explaining that cost, but people just see those numbers add up and then they're like, oh, well, that's just a lot of money. And a lot of people try to nickel and dime it, but this is one of the largest purchases you're ever going to make in your life. You've got to do your due diligence. You don't want to, cut corners, because then you're just cutting corners on yourself. Like, that's all you're doing. You're just putting yourself in a bad situation. So
some of those fees are promulgated by the state, no? So, I mean, they're going to pay those fees regardless.
So yes, the title insurance itself is done by the state. It's a formula. It's completely dependent on the sales price of the home. So it is not something that we control at all. I've had people call me and they're like, yeah, well, my
cousin do it for less.
Yeah, they're trying to negotiate. Well, this title company is this title company is that, and it's like really the only difference is in the closing fees. And at the end of the day, when it comes to your title company, and this is my opinion, I think it's just the customer service that you're getting from your title company that you're truly paying for, because the fees are it varies so little when it comes to your title company, unless you're using an attorney, which is naturally going to be a little bit more because it's an attorney. So yeah, no, I mean, there's so many different little things, and people just, it's sad when people try to nitpick little amounts when you're purchasing a $200,000 or $300,000 house and you're nitpicking $50.
It's weird.
So, yeah, it's a little, when you put it in perspective like that, you're like, okay, I'm talking about $50 here and I'm buying a $200,000 house.
What they don't understand is that, you're nitpicking for that little $50, that might turn into a, few $1,000 problem for you in the end. So they
Absolutely.
got to think about that.
And I tell people all the time, if you get a loan and your lender is going to require you to get title insurance, the lender's policy, why would the lender require it and you not want to protect yourself?
Yeah.
So they're trying to protect themselves at the end of the day, right? If they're going to require you to do that, why would you not protect yourself?
Yeah.
It's a good point. That's a good
Right?
point. Yeah.
Like that's what it is at the end of the day. It's like it makes complete sense, like when you put it in layman's terms like that, but people just don't think of it like that. So
I think
guys
once
Go
you
ahead.
see enough, I think once you see enough things go wrong, you know, you're hoping that they'll listen to you because you have experience and you know you're just trying to help them. But once you see a whole bunch of that stuff go wrong and you see what happens, you know, it's hard to let someone try and save a couple bucks when you know what's going to happen on the other end, you know, because this stuff goes wrong all the time.
yeah, absolutely. And problems will always surface at some point, whether it affects them or down the line.
Yeah.
So you guys had some really great stories today. I do want to make sure that we get in our number one top tip of the week because this is Thursday's top tips in real estate. So Alannah, if you want to go ahead and give us your top tip of the week.
My top tip of the week, trust your professional. If we're telling you spending a couple $100 is going to save you a couple $1,000, trust us because there's nothing that we have to gain by you having an experience that's less than stellar. That's our job.
That's a good one. Very good. Codi, what about you?
I would say be prepared, because along with trusting your professional, they're going to tell you what it is you need, what to expect. They're going to give you realistic expectations, and you know, time is of the essence in most situations. So just be prepared. Have everything you need so that everything, you can jump right on everything, because the state of real estate right now, everything is moving quickly, not waiting for you. So be prepared.
Very, very true. Good one, Codi. What about you, Eric?
So especially with the environment that we're working with COVID, know the difference, get pre-approved, and know the difference between a pre-approval and a pre-qualification. We can all walk into our own banks. I'm not going to say the name, but I can walk into my bank and tell them I make a lot of money and I have good credit, but they may pull my credit, but they don't look at my income and analyze it and just say, yeah, you're pre-qualified. A pre-approval is the most important thing. Make sure you're working with a lender that analyzes all your income, runs it through desktop underwriting. You're fully ready to go. So when you go to make that offer, it's just as strong as a cash deal. And that's how we do it across country. It's, you're going in, you know that you're approved. So
I like that. Good one, Eric. What about you, Sara? You're muted.
Yeah, I would just say is that better?
Yep.
Okay, I would just say based on what my experience has been recently, if you're coming from another real estate market, just know it's different here. It's probably different than your market back home if you're coming from out of town, and it could really be different even from a market that you're in down south. I would say that be prepared to pay pretty close to asking if you want to buy a property, if you want to get it, if you really like it. It's interesting. There was a time when you could make a low offer and you could maybe pull a deal together. But for some reason, there's some people out there, I'm seeing it more and more lately, that think that they're going to buy a house in Florida and make a low offer and someone's going to accept it. And some of them have to miss out on 3 or 4 homes before they actually start to realize what's going on. We are in a really unusual market. There's no common sense behind it with everything going on in the world other than it's a fabulous place to live. And I think people acknowledge that now. You know, we've been through the spring and summer with COVID, but try being locked up in a house in the middle of winter, cold, snow, temperatures, and there's nowhere to go and you can't, and you know, so I think people see that. I think they're coming here for that reason. I think that people are working from home now and they can't leave their houses or they won't leave their houses as much. So if they're going to do that, they want to do it in a nice place where they can have a lot to do all year long. So keep that in mind when you come to this market. Don't keep putting in low offers. You're wasting your own time. It's a lot of disappointment for you. You may miss out on the perfect house. Just be prepared. And the realtor, an experienced realtor, will work with you and make you understand. And we're all happy. We know how to pull the numbers so that you make a really good, so you put together a really good deal and make a really good offer. So yes, if you're serious and you're coming here to buy a house, just be prepared. That's just what the market's like now.
Thank you, Sarah. That's a great tip. My number one top tip of the week this week, I've used it before, but I'll say it again, is communication. Make sure that you guys are communicating as buyers and sellers, that you are communicating with your professionals so that we can inform you about what's going on. And if we need something from you, like it goes hand in hand with all the tips that they're saying, being prepared to be able to answer us with those things that we might need along the way. I mean, there's so many different touch points. There's a lender, there's the sellers, the buyers, the selling realtor, the buying realtor, and there's us, and we all have to make sure that everybody is communicating and making sure that the deal is going forward. So communication is key. If we are trying to reach out to you, answer the call. Yes. So that is my number one top tip of the week. I do want to remind everyone that is on that if you want to reach out to any of the amazing local professionals that are on this call, their information is in the description of this video. You can also watch the replays to every one of our Thursday's top tips in real estate, along with this one, on our YouTube channel, Arrow Title Services. And yeah, does anybody have any announcements that they want to make really quick? No? No? Alrighty, well then we will see you guys next week. Again, Thursday's top tips in real estate every week at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Florida on the Treasure Coast. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for all of you guys who came on, and I truly am very appreciative of you guys and your expert opinions to share with us each and every week. Thank you guys, and have a great week.
Have a great week.
Have a good week.
Everybody have a good one.
Thank you.